to finalize 553 of the 1,107 requests that came from restitution, meaning we were able to do half 50% of the work that was required at that time. Slide number 15 is still under goal 1, which is the 100% completion of valuations submitted by LTA and LRD. We're able to do 187 of the 214 requests that came from LRD and LTA, meaning 87% of the work was done within the specified timelines by the OVG. On slide number 17, Chair, is where we were dealing with the backlog. We had a backlog at the beginning of the year of 995. We're able to do 525 and 470 remained under backlog. So when one adds up the targets under this target, the achievement under this indicator, plus the other 2 that I've dealt with, we will see the full total of the valuations that were done by the OVG. For all of these 3 performance indicators, Chair, the reasons for deviation are that we are operating under a startup's organizational structure to get us to commence. The process of finalizing a more realistic structure took longer than expected to finalize, both in the core valuations and the business functions. We have capacity problems. We had capacity problems, and that is what has led to the lack of achievement. That lack of capacity has meant that we have relied solely on the private sector using the supply chain management system to appoint valuers that go and do work on our behalf, and we do quality assurance. The use of private valuers in terms of turnaround times has proven to be a bottleneck for the OVG operations, as unacceptably lengthy periods of time are taken to conclude valuations by private valuers. And the bottleneck contributed significantly to the lack of achievement of all of those 3 indicators. It is something that we are dealing with the industry, with private valuers from time to time. We think that they too are quite overwhelmed by the work that is coming out from the OVG side. In the 1920 financial year, like I said earlier, this was the first time that we had the 30 days rule, which also contributes to the turnaround times that may not be achieved, even though, Chair, we emphasize that it is a necessary period of 30 days that allows citizens to have their say before we finalize our work. In terms of interventions, in February of last year, we received concurrence from the minister, where we added an additional 21 positions to the existing number of roles in the OVG. We started with a process of recruitment, but we were our work was cut short by the hard lockdown. As we returned to more eased levels of the lockdown, we're able to proceed with the recruitment, and so far we have been able to appoint about 15 of the 21 positions that we were given, with some of the people starting as recently as yesterday. Chair, on goal 1, slide number 19, Ralph, we have a 50-day target for turnaround times for all LTA and LRD. That was a target in the year under review. We were only able to do 167 days, meaning we had a variance of 117 days, and the reasons are the same as what I have said. We believe that we're going to begin to see an improvement in this performance with the number of people that we are employing. Of the 21 positions that were concurred to by the minister in February last year, 12 of those positions are core function valuations positions, and already we have got 10 new valuers on top of the valuers that we had. I'll give over to Mr. Mukale to start on slide number 22 and take us forward with the rest of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, members of the committee, Honorable Minister and the Deputy Ministers, the DG, the management of the department and entities, and the Auditor General, good morning. Chair, I'll be taking over the slides from goal 2, which is from indicator number 1 on goal 2, Chair, which was 100% implementation of the approved valuation criteria, procedure, and guidelines. From indicator, this was to drive the implementation of the PVA regulations, which were approved valuation criteria, procedure, and guidelines. Just earlier, this was to drive the implementation of the financial year PVA regulations. So the annual target for this indicator, Chair, was 100%, and guidelines. Just earlier, this was to drive the 100% implementation of the financial year PVA regulations. So the annual target for this indicator, Chair, was 100%, and guidelines. Just earlier, this was to drive on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at goal 3. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. The first target was the number of potential target on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at goal 3. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. The first target was the number of potential target on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at goal 3. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. The first target was the number of potential target on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at goal 3. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. The first target was the number of potential target on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at goal 3. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. On the next slide, Chair, look at it on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at evaluation. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. On the next target, Chair, look at it on the next indicator, Chair. Now looking at evaluation. So the annual target for this organizational structure was 100%. On the next target, Chair, look at it on the COO liters, and on the next the next indicator, Chair, number of independent evaluation review quality assurance meetings. We have a target of 12 meetings per year. The next indicator, Chair, number of independent evaluation review quality assurance meetings. The next indicator of percentage of evaluation by the criteria. The next indicator, indicator, Chair, number of indicator, we are a target of 5% for the financial year. The next indicator of the concept of Mothusi Montwedi. The next indicator, Chair, number of indicator, we are a target of 5%. Committee was manipulating the next indicator of the concept of Mothusi Montwedi. The next indicator, Chair, number of indicator, we are a target of 5%. Committee was manipulating the next indicator of the concept of Mothusi Montwedi. The next indicator, Chair, number of on this slide here, get the indicator of the next indicator of the concept of Mothusi Montwedi. The next indicator, Chair, on this slide here, get the indicator of the next indicator of the concept of Mothusi Montwedi. We had appointment on this slide here, get the indicator of the next indicator of the concept of Mothusi Montwedi. We had appointment on the next indicator of the development of property. We had annual target was appointment on the next indicator of the development of property. We had annual target was appointment on the next indicator of the development of property. We had annual target was appointment on the next indicator of the development of the number of people attending the we had annual target was the target of the next indicator of the development of the number of people attending the we had annual target was the target of the next indicator of the development of the number of people attending we had annual target was the target of the next indicator of the development of the number of people attending we had annual target was the target of the next indicator of the development of the number of people attending
Continue.
we had annual target was the target of the next indicator of the development of the number of people attending
Continue. Yeah, it seems it's frozen.
Annual target was the target of the next indicator of the development of I was cut off by my network.
Yeah, it seems it's frozen.
With your permission, Chair, I would just like to switch off the video. I was cut off by my network.
Yeah, it seems it's frozen.
With your permission, Chair, I would just like to switch off
Thank you, Chair.
the next slide talks to the financial performance of
Yeah, it seems it's frozen.
Continue. Thank you, Chair.
The next slide talks to the financial performance of
Yeah, it seems it's frozen.
Continue. Thank you, Chair.
the next slide talks. So on this slide, Chair, we're looking at the overall picture of the financial performance. We had an allocation of the next slide. So on this slide, Chair, we're looking at the overall picture of the financial performance of 5.8 million for that financial year, which amounted to a total of 146 million. The split of the allocation, Chair, looking at the budget, is on the compensation of employees. We had a budget of 75.6 million. The actual spend on that was 14.9 million, which amounted to 20% of the 20% spend of the allocated budget. On the goods and services, including assets, Chair, we had a budget of 66.4 million. We spent 26.9 million, which amounted to 39% spent on the allocated budget. Overall, Chair, we have allocation of 142 million. We spent, the actual spent was 41 million, which amounted to 29% spent of the allocated budget of 142 million. We had a surplus, a total surplus of 106.8 million. Next slide, please. Just looking at the analysis of the financial statements, Chair, looking at some of the main drivers of the expenditure, and also looking at the spend according to the years. There's a graphic there, Chair. The blue will show the 2018, the brown shows the 2019, and the green shows the 2020 spend. And it just goes to show that as and when we were increasing in terms of headcount, there were the spend was also increasing. The expenditure, Chair, amounted to 41 million, 35.3 million, and 13.9 million for the 2019-20, 18-19, and 2017-18 respectively. The expenditure reflects a 196% increase from 13.9 million in 17-18, and a 17% increase from the 35.3 million in the 18-19 financial year. Next slide, please. Continuation of the analysis, Chair. Looking at the financial performance on the grants received, Chair, looking at again at 2018-19 and 2020. You will note that there were slight increases in 2019 and 2020, and almost half in the 2018 financial year. The OVG realized total revenue of 148 million, 144.1 million, and 65.8 million for the 19-20, 18-19, and 17-18 financial years respectively. The allocations received from the fiscus, the allocation received from the fiscus is 141.1 million in the 19-20 financial year, 141.1 million in the 18-19 financial year, and 64.8 million in the 17-18 financial year.
Can we conclude?
Okay. Next slide, please. Chair, just on the Audit and Risk Committee report, the committee did meet with the Auditor General of South Africa. The committee concurred with and accepted the AGSA's report on the financials. And we're highlighting just what that was done by the Risk Committee. Next slide, please. On the management report, Chair, the Office of the Valuer General did not have any investigations in terms of Chapter 10 of the PFMA. We also didn't identify any irregular expenditure, unauthorized expenditure, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We did not have a budget realignment for the 19-20 financial. Next slide, please. On the progress of the DRDLR recommendations to ensure proper implementation of processes, policies, and procedures to enable the OVG to deliver on its mandate. The response of the OVG on that, Chair, the PVA regulations have been workshopped in 9 provinces to ensure that the DALAT and the OVG have a common view of each other's roles in order to ensure efficient running in between the 2 entities. Continuous engagement are taking place between the OVG CRLR, the LRD and LTA branches of the department, and some SLAs have been signed for the 2021-22 financial years. Next slide. On the recruitment and capacitation of the OVG chair, the response of the office, we have appointed 3 senior valuers who assumed duty in 2019. The position of director valuations was filled in 2020. The OVG received approval of an additional 21 positions in order to improve capacity. 10 assistant managers have been appointed. The 11th is in the process of an offer, and a further 4 positions, ICT, HR, PMO, and SCM have been filled. And the process to appoint the SM internal audit is underway. The remainder ICT, of the roles, PMO, and SC21 have also been targeted for filling in the current year. The valuations review and advisory committee has been appointed and continues to function, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, that is all from our side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, there's the presentation from the Office of the Valuer General. We shall now open for questions of clarity and comments. I will recognize the Honorable Klape.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Chair, let me go straight to my clarity-seeking questions before I got cut. Chair, I'm noting that the OVG has been supported by Deeds Registry through MOU that could have ended in June 2017, and it has been continuously extended. What is the stance currently? Because the last report was that it's ending 1920. Are you going to stand alone without support, or are you continuing to extend this MOU with a Deeds Registry? The issue of lack of capacity, it's a recurring matter that we are now living with on the Office of OVG. I'm noting what has been presented in terms of vacancies that are being filled. Besides these vacancies, what will it take you as the Office of the Valuer General to be adequately capacitated? And I want to couple this with the target of sustainability that indicates the interest. What is the interest of non-land reform clients using your services if you cannot achieve your own targets and your services has to be outsourced to non-land reform clients? Do you think, without looking at the achievement or exceeded target that you did on this target, are you able really to service those that are outside the land reform? Chair, my other question is on the vacant position of the Valuer General since February 2019 and the COO that has been vacant 2015-2016. How far is the recruitment process on these 2 main positions? The Parliament is finalizing or is about to finalize expropriation of land without compensation. With this lack of capacity, how will this process impact on your work as Office of Valuer General? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Klape. Honorable Kapa.
No, thanks, Chair. I'm covered for now there.
Thank you, Honorable Kapa. If you may close your cupboard behind you. Honorable, Steyn.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the presentation, Chair. I'm going to start off with the question that I asked to the Commission, and that was nicely dealt with in a very collegial way. What would the OVG say would be the impact of the slow evaluations on the Commission's work? Because there was, I asked a specific question to the Commission whether it was the slow pace of doing the valuations, or whether it was a funding issue that basically slowed down the Commission's work on the number of the targets that was supposed to be done. If we look at the years, last year it was a lower target, although they exceeded their target. So the service level agreement between the two, the Commission then and the OVG, it would be out of interest to see what is that agreement, if they agree on a certain target per year, or what is that agreement specifically, so that we can also be on board, Chair. And I'm very happy to see that more people has now been appointed, and even more then to look at what the target would then be. I think it's also linked to what my colleague was asking. What is your own target regarding how many land claims will be dealt with on a yearly basis, and then how many of percentage-wise will be then other work that you need to do? Then, Chairperson, I would like to find out what percentage of the work in total, and I saw something about 12, but it was meetings, but what percentage of the work of the OVG is being done by private individuals, and the impact of that on their own budget? Then, is there any review of legislation or current use, or regarding the current use value? I think that is the issue that impacts the most on court cases and other situations when the OVG, the process is slow because people take them to court, or there is challenges regarding that. So is there anything that is currently in the pipeline for a legislation that would be changed? And then just the impact of court cases, Chairperson, if we can just get a general response to that. Did it impact the work of the OVG or not? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Steyn. The Honorable Ntate Matiase.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Well, look, we really understand the challenges faced by the Office of the Valuer General. Understanding doesn't mean that we accept the non-performance and failure to deliver on its mandate. It's understanding because maybe this is a new terrain that we have to familiarize ourselves with to understand its impact on determining the value of properties that need to be evaluated, that would later help with the land reform program, including helping the state to arrive at appropriate and accurate prices of land that ought to be paid for, as that is the policy of the state currently. I say that as a way of just introducing the few points that I'm going to raise. Look, on slide 32, Honorable Chair. On that slide, the office indicates that in terms of goods and services, of 66.4 million allocated to them, they have spent 26.1 million. And this is because they have spent that less or that much. Let me say it's much, considering that they are reporting that they have, due to lack of capacity internally, they had to go out and acquire capacity from private evaluators. And for that, they have to spend 26 million. It's unacceptable. The office must establish internal capacity. If it has to spend 26 million, it should be on what they are able to generate within the institution, than to spend that lot of money on private individuals. And it's concerning that they use the information and data generated by private individuals without themselves being able to determine the quality and the truthfulness of the data compiled by private individuals. They would, sitting where I am, in the comfort of my house, I can tell you there's a lot of price fixing, there's a lot of collusion, there's a lot of distortion in the process. And if there is any better way of undermining the effort of government to perform its work and to save money at its best, it is to follow the route that the office is taking. Secondly, the office says on the same slide, of the total operating activities, they have saved about 106.8 million. Let me be frank with the representative of the OVG. What they refer to as surplus is underperformance, is non-performance, Honorable Chair. In government, we are not pleased. We're not pleased by government officials who report that they have saved money. Saved money for what? When the mandate of government is to deliver services to our people. We're not pleased by the fact that they say that they have saved money, which they present here as surplus. Surplus for what? When our people are out there and want to be served, and once money has been allocated to the office like this, ought to be spent on, it must be spent on and not be saved and presented to us as if they have saved some money. Lastly, they are also saying that on slide 37, the OVG did not incur irregular, unauthorized, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. For a fact that they have got the audacity to say that they have saved 106.8 million unused. That represents irregular, unauthorized, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. Wasting our time as Parliament to allocate money to them to go and do their work, and they come back and say, our hands are clean. You cannot find anything against us. We did not incur irregular, unauthorized, fruitless, and wasteful. Yet they failed to spend on what was allocated to them. They ought to pull their socks and get their house in order and hit the ground running. We will not tolerate this nonsense going forward, Honorable Chair. Thank you so much.
Let's mind our language, honorable members. Moving forward, Honorable Mahlo.
Honorable Chair, what is wrong with nonsense?
It's unparliamentary language.
There's nothing in the vocabulary that says nonsense is unparliamentary.
Nonsense, not nonsense, nonsense.
Honorable Mahlo.
It's not right. Thank you, Chair. Chair, thank you very much. Let me come in and welcome the presentation by the Office of the OVG. As much as we appreciate the good work that they did in 2019-2020 by obtaining a clean audit, as they said, on their reports, one will focus on page 14
of their presentation. Chair, it will be important for us to make sure that the issue of the capacity in the department must be addressed as a matter of urgency, which I think the quality management systems of this department need to be reviewed with regard to the human resource and administration policies that they have, so that they can be able to have the right staff in office. Because if you look at page 14, Chair, in one paragraph, they're talking about the lack of capacity, which makes them to go and look for people outside who can be able to do certain functions in the department, where they're also talking about the bottlenecks of those people that are being hired, and they can't be able to achieve their targets, of which I think we need to make sure that this office is resourced in terms of capacity. I don't think we need to talk about this for a long time. Since I get into parliament, when I get there, we're talking about this capacity in this units, and what is wrong? What is making them not to get the right people? Is there anything wrong? They must tell us so that we can be able to know where to assist. But I think we, as lawmakers, we will suggest that they must give us their policies. They must give us the quality management, the human resource and administration policies, so that we can be able to see where they lack. I mean, why don't they hire the right people? Why don't they build those capacities in their department, where yet they are talking about the bottlenecks that takes them very long if they've appointed other people from outside to come and do the work? So we are suggesting that really they must pull up their socks by making sure that they get the right people to do the work. Because we can't be reversing money back to the national treasury, yet we need work to be done, services to be delivered to our people. That is one of the most important things that we would like to suggest that they do.
Thank you, Honorable Memahlo. Honorable Mbabama.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I welcome the review of the Property Valuation Act and the extensive consultation that is envisaged. And I was just wondering if or how the Portfolio Committee would actually contribute to that consultation process in terms of the PVA. And then looking at the PVA itself, I would really like to know what, and I'm not sure that they'll have the answer, but I'd like to know what informed the 30-day for landowners to interrogate the valuations of the OVG. Because to me, 30 days seems to be rather extensive. 30 days is 4 weeks. So considering the slow turnaround times that the Office of the Valuer General has, it really doesn't make sense to me why it should be a 30-day. But hopefully that will be looked at in the review of the PVA. I would also like to know what were the findings of the Quality Review Committee on the few valuations that were done during this period. It is commendable that they do have a Quality Review Committee, but we would like to know what were their findings and or recommendations. Because of its criticality, I would like to reiterate the question on the recruitment of the Valuer General and the COO. If the officials can just tell us how far this recruitment has come, and if not, maybe the minister can assist. And then my last question, Chair, is what is the envisaged impact? What is the envisaged impact of expropriation of land without compensation on the Office of the Valuer General, what role do they see themselves playing if this pans out the way government is wanting it to go? Thank you very much, Chair. That's all from me.
Thank you, Honorable Mbabama. Mep Breed, Honorable Breed.
Thank you, Voorzitter. Chairperson, I will also try and be brief, as I think a lot of my colleagues have covered it. Let me maybe start with the backlog. My fear is, and maybe my question, let's put it like that, how will the OVG increase their output in terms of the valuations? We see that their target in terms of the backlog of valuations was not met. They only reached half of that. And in terms of their target for new valuations, they also only reached half of that, which means we already have an additional backlog with that which we did not, the backlog that we did not finish, in addition to the target that we did not finish, and we're just increasing that. How are we going to address that? Because we're just going to get a bigger backlog, and I think my colleagues have spoken to that. The gentleman from the OVG also mentioned within that structure that they made new appointments. I think it was 15 that he said. He also spoke right in the beginning of his presentation. He spoke of the fact that they had finally finalized their staff structure in terms of I think we got the old structure and they were in the process of reviewing that because the department came back and said that that structure was not feasible and that they had to revise in terms of all those. I'm not going to go into the history. I just want to know these appointments that were made, were they on this new structure that I assume the OVG then has, and the 4 new appointments that they are also eyeing to do, are those also in terms of that new structure? Then I would like to know what this new structure is, what the staff component is in terms of that, and how many of those total positions are still vacant. And I think we need a breakdown of that because I think we cannot go into this blindly, and especially seeing as it is a new structure, if I understood that correctly, so that we can please just receive that. Chairperson, and that also kind of adds to what I want to say next in terms of we're only spending 20% of our COE, and I would like them to please understand. I understand the minister and the department has now allowed them to make these 22 positions available, and they filled 15 and they can do an additional 4. But why are we still standing on 20% in terms of COE? Does that then by implication mean that we have funds within the OVG to actually appoint more people, for example, more valuers? Maybe that was, I didn't quite catch that, if they could be specific on that. Further then in terms of, I think it was Honorable Matiase that said we spent 26 million on outside contractors to actually assist the OVG in doing their job. I would like to know, and I would like to find it, and I was wondering whether they can give us a specific breakdown on that, maybe not necessarily here, I don't know if they have all the information, maybe they can send it in a document later. But these private valuers that we are appointing, or that the OVG is appointing to assist them with this backlog and assist them in actually reaching their targets, do we have SLAs with them? What do these SLAs entail if we have? If we do not have SLAs with them, why do we not have? Which firms are we using? What are the details and what are the contract amounts of these? And taking into account this financial year, will they be reinstated, re-employed, and the SLEs extended for the next financial year as we are ending that? If they can just speak to that, please, Chairperson. And I think those are the most important things that I wanted answered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Akbar Breed. Honorable members, I'll call on Ndabezi Tanko Senku, the Honorable Tsebekur.
Thank you, Chairperson. On this presentation, Chairperson, I don't have any question. I really don't have something to question, Chair. Thank you.
The Honorable Montwedi.
Hello?
Yes, please proceed, Honorable Montwedi.
Hello? Hello? Oh,
Yeah, audible,
thank
please.
you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I have noticed that the OVG actually in their failed to reach their targets, which were 12, and only managed to reach 7 of those targets, leaving the 5 targets that they've not reached as an entity. I would like to find out what could have been the causes of them not reaching some of those targets. Can they also maybe attribute the fact of them having reached those targets to the lack of internal capacity in the OVG or what? The issue of the review, I think Honorable Thape or Honorable Stein touched on that issue. The other issue, Chair, is that the reliance on the office of the OVG on the private sector valuers, how has it impacted the department financially? If they were to do a cost-benefit analysis of having to rely on private valuers and using their internal capacity in dealing with issues of valuation, which one would they opt for? Am I still on, Chair?
Yes, you're still on. Proceed.
Hello?
Yeah, audible. Please proceed.
Oh, sorry. Yes. And then there's somewhere in their present. Thank you very much. There's somewhere in their presentation where they have raised the issue of the use of the supply chain management in appointing valuers. I want to know how has that process impacted them negatively, the use of the supply chain processes in appointing valuers, and if it has affected them negatively, what is it that they have done in terms of dealing with this issue? Because if we remember, there was in the department the issue of supply chain in some, I'm not sure, I can't remember correctly what was it, and they managed to deal with it through the National Treasury, Chair. And then, Chair, my concern, Chair, is that in terms of their target, they have actually planned to finalize valuation or issue valuation certificates in 50 days. And they are actually doing it in 167 days, Chair. It's a very serious concern. Clearly, they are the ones that are impacting on the release, or the ones that are negatively impacting on the work of the Commission. I think Honorable Matiase raised this, that since 2014 to date, the Commission has actually not been able to do good since the introduction of the Valuer General, Chair. The last one, Chair, is on goal number 3, that clearly the Commission is will not be able to, I think Honorable Thape raised this issue, that without the Commission, OVG is actually relevant because they are unable to tap into doing work of other private valuers, Chair. They are actually unable to do private business where people are able to utilize their services, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Montwedi. The Honorable Twitter.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, my colleagues have said all the issues, Chair, in a very corporate and professional manner. The administration side and everything else. Chair, I'm sitting here trying to contain myself, Chair. I've tried so much in terms to really contain myself. Can I just remind everybody, Chair, especially the department and the office of the Valuer General, that as Parliament is concluding with Section 25, the issue of expropriation, land expropriation without compensation, it directly talks to them in a way. Now, Chair, with all these challenges, Chairperson, lack of capacity, the underspending, the unfilling of posts and everything else. I'm not sure, Chair, whether they have an idea of the alignment of interdepartmental programs. I'm really worried, Chair. I'm really worried and concerned, and I'm a bit angry to a certain extent. Ingathi laba bantu abayazi basifuna umhlaba. And the evaluation of umhlaba, it depends on that office. Leyo into ke Chair, angifuni noba siyitekete. Andifuni noba siyi-sugarcoat, Chair. Ndicela, can I just reserve my comment for today, Chair? Because next time I won't be this contained as I'm trying, Chair. But I'm really not pleased with this information and this presentation that they are giving us. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Chwete. Ntate Masipa.
Thank you, Chair.
Masipa.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I've got a few points to make. I think my colleagues have covered me in a number of areas. But the area that I just want to raise with the Auditor General, the OVG, is that they have stated that private sector valuers are too slow and that they have decided not to use them. So the question that I have is, how are they going to increase their outputs whilst they're waiting to fill the position? Because that's the challenge that they're sitting with. They don't have capacity to do this work, and they're getting rid of the private valuers. My issue is, how are they going to really ensure that their outputs are really in line with the desired output? The other concern that I have got is that they had only 12 targets to meet for the year, and they've only managed to do 7. And according to their new model, they will be, taking 50 days to complete the valuation. My question is, how are they going to really be able to do this 50 days, while they are really not able to complete 12 valuation in a year? These are my real concern. I think my colleagues have expressed, their concern. I think the Valuer General is being too ambitious with regards to its planned model. I would suggest that they really look at their plans going forward and come and present to us as to how are they going to really address this, because land reform really delays, it hinges on their work. And if they don't do their work, unfortunately, we'll be sitting here for the next 25 years, not making really movements with regards to this issue of the land reform. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Masipa. Is there any other honorable member that I've not recognized who wishes to pose a question? Thank you, honorable members. We'll now hand over to the OVG for responses. OVG.
Oh, thank you, Chair. On the questions of Honorable Kape with regards to the MOU, we've got a deeds transition project that we are running together with the colleagues at deeds, which is assisting us to manage the transition from deeds to OVG's own internal capacity. Metape asks, what apart from vacancies do we need? As I have said in the presentation, we are implementing an ERP that is going to assist us to have internal capacity insofar as systems are concerned. That work is underway and we are in testing now, and we are confident that will be going live from the 1st of April. So the answer is that we intend not to increase or extend the MOU with DITS to the extent that they would be doing to what they are doing for us today. We will obviously require that we close the financial year, meaning the 2020-2021 financial year, we close the books together with them until we do the annual financial statements as well as the annual report for the 2020-2021 financial year. But with effect from 1 April for the 2021-2022 financial year, it will be the OVG that will be running its own affairs. Non-land reform clients, in terms of our APP that we are reporting on, we had a target of raising revenue out of non-land reform clients. Remember that in the Property Valuation Act, Section 12(1)(b) allows the OVG to do valuations work for non-land reform clients. We do have one particular client, which is a government department. However, what we have done in order for us to focus on the main mandate of the OVG, which is land reform, we did not proceed with putting emphasis on that specific target. That's why we ended up not achieving that revenue of 0.25% that was targeted for that year. In the new annual performance plan that we are managing currently as we speak, we no longer have that target in favor for emphasis and focus on land reform matters. On the impact of slow valuations on the Commission's work, the slow work of the OVG will impact the work of the Commission because it is upstream in the value chain of the work of the Commission. Hence, we have in the past years come to a point where we refine our relationship to the point where in this year that is being reported, the Commission has been able to meet their targets with the OVG having made a contribution to that. Honorable Stein says details of the SLAs. We can provide details of the SLAs. I think it's something that can work with the parliamentary liaison officer to make available to the committee. Own targets. When it comes to own targets, our own targets are in the EPP. For instance, we say that if we receive a request or an instruction from the Commission or from any client within a particular period of time, we will finish that work. However, what is important is that in the SLA itself, we agree that the clients have got to give us the full inventory of the work that they require from the OVG at the beginning of a quarter, so that we then agree on the numbers that we are going to do within the turnaround time. So what we are targeting is really the turnaround time more than the numbers. The numbers come with the client, we sit with the client, we agree on the quantum that we would be able to deal with for that particular quarter. We did not insist that it be an annual inventory of stuff that they require from us, but a quarterly one so that we allow space for flexibility of the client's management to manage their own targeting. The percentage of work that is being done by private valuers, I'm not sure about the number, but it is close to 100%. It could be 99.something%. I would have to be exact in terms of giving you that number. Work that has been done by the OVG staff in terms of starting from scratch, doing evaluation is very small, and the majority of the work is done by private valuers. The issue of the current use value, Honorable Steyn, is a matter that is part of the work that the Minister has given to the Ministerial Advisory Panel. It is captured in the milestone that the Minister says we need to deal with the methods and the approach and the formula that the OVG uses. Current use value is a matter that is in the formula that the OVG is using, and is the main issue that we are receiving commentary from stakeholders about. So yes, it is part of the review of the PVA and its regulations. The issue of the impact of court cases, the OVG, we have not had an avalanche of court cases. As part of the work of the Ministerial Advisory Panel, we are doing a scan of matters in court that have got an impact or implications on the work that the OVG is doing. We'll remember that there is a recent court ruling in the KZN province that dealt with the role of the OVG. It served to confirm that the OVG produces valuations that the minister considers in finalizing compensation. So that court ruling has confirmed that. There is one case that we are awaiting judgment on, where we have been able to present the approach that was used in that specific land claims matter, which in the main captures the approach that the OVG is utilizing. We are hoping to hear a lot more from the court in that regard, because we have presented the methodology of the OVG. So there isn't really an impact of court cases if you look at the fact that we are talking about 2 cases where the methods of the OVG have been raised. Honorable Matiase, we accept that the accounting language that has been used here to say surplus would rather be misleading, because indeed it is underspending more than it being a surplus. We accept that. Insofar as the issue of irregular expenditure and wasteful expenditure, Honorable Matiase, the template for the presentations from the committee requires that we make commentary on those matters as they are matters that emerge out of the work of the Auditor General. Insofar as independent work of the OVG is concerned, maybe let me explain, Honorable Matiase. The OVG has a panel of valuers. That panel of valuers is accredited, or valuers are accredited onto after passing a specific set of criteria. Amongst the criteria is the requirement that they would have completed a training course on valuations for expropriation and for land reform. That is done by the University of Cape Town. Once they are onto that panel, supply chain management processes are followed to give them assignments. They receive assignments and they conduct valuations in line with the training course that they have received, in line with their usual valuations standards, and also in line with the OVG's technical manual on valuations. Their work then gets received within the OVG, and a quality assurance process ensues. So the valuers in the OVG do quality assurance, and indeed they have access to market information. So we've got access to databases of market information in the property sector, including access to deeds, which gives us a sense of work that has happened on that particular property, or the exchanging of hands in terms of the sales that have occurred insofar as that property is concerned. So the OVG does that independent of the private valuer, the quality assurance, and this is where a lot of engagement happens between the Office of the Valuer General and the private valuer. So we can confirm that by the time the OVG issues a valuation certificate, the OVG has applied its mind and it is confident that what they are issuing is a valuation certificate in line with the Property Valuation Act. Honorable Maso, we accept what you're saying around addressing capacity and hiring people who are proceeding with recruitment in line with the vacancies that we have. Honorable Mbambama, the 30 days was informed by legal advice that we had received during the development of the regulations. Indeed, it is one of the issues that will be considered by the Ministerial Advisory Panel as part of the review work that is underway. We've heard you about the findings of the Evaluations Review and Advisory Committee. I think we have got one annual report and we've got about 3 or 4 quarterly reports that we can share with the committee. Honorable Briet is talking about how we increase our output for the backlog. What we have done is in this financial year that we have not reported on, the current one, by the time we went to Christmas, we were doing quite well on the turnaround of the 50 days. But that was as a result of the fact that we had not received quite a lot of requests from clients of valuations that fall under that specific category. So we are watching that specific indicator to manage it. And then we are focusing on the backlog that we have, that we focus the teams that we have grown. As we grow the teams, we focus on that backlog and we focus on the 50 working days target. With regards to the new structure or the old structure, maybe one should explain the envisaged structure that I would have shared with the portfolio committee verbally had 109 positions in it. We then had the process of the review of the PVA getting underway, and the minister agreeing that we identified 21 critical positions that could be filled. So the 21 came in the main out of the 109, and it was adding on top of the positions that we had at that particular time. So the 109 structure is still a structure that is there, and the additional 21 came out of that particular structure. The SLAs with private valuers get sent terms of reference as part of the procurement process. Those terms of reference are in the main the milestones and the deliverables that are required from each of the service providers, together with the turnaround times or timelines that will require the work from them within. Whether you're asking whether we will proceed and use private valuers in the next year, we will be using private valuers still in the new financial year because of the capacity that we need that exists in the private sector. Our intention is to improve the relationship between ourselves and them insofar as the turnaround times that we're complaining about is concerned. Honorable Montwedi is asking why we did not reach the 12. We reached the 7 only, Honorable Montwedi, because of our capacity problems, both in terms of warm bodies and in terms of systems, both of which aspects we have spoken to in our presentation. Whether the SCM process has been a problem, we wouldn't say the SCM process as on its own has been a problem. The reality of the matter is that the team at DITS has had to do our work on an ad hoc basis in terms of acquiring those services. So to the extent of capacity issues and timing issues, yes, but as a system, the SCM process has not been a problem. Negative impact of the OVG on commission work. As I have said already, if the OVG continues to be slow in finalizing work, it will impact on the work of the commission. But we have now come up with this contingency where we are managing one another quite closely, and this is how we have seen the commission exceed its targets in the financial year under review. Honorable Masipa, we have not decided to not use private valuers. We'll continue to use private valuers, but what is important maybe to explain to the committee is that in our new service level agreements, we've agreed that the commission, together with the department's land redistribution program, will take over the function of commissioning valuers, meaning the panel that I shared with the committee earlier on is at the disposal of the commission and the department. They do the commissioning, they do the SCM work, and they receive the reports and they submit those reports to the OVG, just so that we alleviate some of the pressure from the OVG owing to the capacity. The clients are now doing that part of the work. It is received at the OVG, and the technical valuations work then gets done by way of quality assurance at the OVG itself. I think I'll stop there, Chair. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Office of the Valuer General. Is there any other further responses?
Chairperson?
Yes, please go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to the members for raising the matters that they've raised. Thapelo has tried to respond to them. Some of them obviously are matters of policy, and some of it arise out of the legislation. And I just want to indicate that one of the issues that we need to look at again is in the mind of the legislatures. If you look at the Property Valuations Act, particularly Chapter 3 on the valuation of property, actually it says the Valuer General may authorize one or more persons to conduct or assist in the performance of valuation, and such people will be a member of staff of the Valuer General's office and a private practitioner who is registered valuer, which means even from the legislative point of view, the issue of private valuers was acknowledged, given that the enormity of the work that the Valuer General's office was to do would not necessarily be able to be done by the staff of the Valuer General itself on its own. So I think those are some of the matters we might have to reflect on. The other issue, Chairperson, which is why it has necessitated that a review and also consultation, is because you've got the Property Valuations Professions Act that lie with DPW, which determines the standards, how the profession must be undertaken, developed, and it regulates even the fees of the valuers and so on and so on. And then you have the PVA of 2014, which set up the office of the Valuer General to specifically deal with land reform. And I think this is where some of the tensions are that end up at times in court about what then is the values that the OVG is using. So I just thought that I needed to flag on these things because, as I say, they are not the matters of audit, but they impact on the work that we are supposed to do. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Mamutidiza. Honorable members, with those responses, it brings us to an end of our session. And there are no minutes to be adopted for today. I would like to therefore thank all the honorable members for their participation and the questions of clarity that you've been able to pose. Let me thank the executive in the ministry, as led by the Honorable Minister Mamutidiza, as well as the deputy ministers. I see Bautlaminu Sibalkulu is with us, and I have seen the deputy minister of Skwacha was connected earlier. Thank all the officials of the department that were online with us on this virtual meeting, as well as the entities who have presented today. We want to thank the Commission, as well as the OVG for their presentations, and wish them well in the closure of this fiscal of 2020-2021, so that we may move on to the next budget. We want to thank all our staff, the Secretariat, the researchers, content advisors, the staff that is in our assistance in ensuring that we are able to have these functional virtual meetings. It is the new normal we are having to work under. I therefore want to thank them for their input and all the guests that have been able to join us on today's session. Honorable members, we continue to plead with all of you and South Africans at large to continue to adhering to the COVID-19 regulations. Let us sanitize, let us wear our masks, let us adhere to social distancing, and wish all of you to stay safe and healthy during these challenging times. Those that are living with the pandemic, we wish them strength on day to day, and we'll continue to keep them in our prayers. And for those that have lost their loved ones, we continue praying for yourselves and keeping you in our daily prayers to find strength and find solace that your loved ones are with the Maker. Thank you, and hopefully you can have a wonderful day and a great week ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye. The meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enkosi.
Enkosi kakhulu Qhengeba. Themba omkhulu.
Tim.
Wena wavele enyandeni qhudeni.
Siyabulela.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, colleague.